Hi guys, thanks a million for joining this week's episode of the iPPi Insider with guest Tom Panos. Tom is number one real estate coach and trainer in the world. He opened up his real estate office at the age of 22 years of age, and he immersed himself in the industry for over 30 years. Tom has a master's degree in managing and coaching psychology. He teaches agents how to attract business and not just chase it. Tom, you're very welcome, and thanks a million for jumping on today.
Absolute pleasure, Kenneth.
Brilliant. So, Tom, if you want to tell the guys a little bit about your background in the industry, just to open it up.
So, Kenneth, my background is I've done nothing else but real estate. When I left university and I went into real estate, and I pretty much have just done real estate since then, which now makes it my 32nd year. I've run my own office for a number of years. I've worked in real estate media for Rupert Murdoch. And for decades, I've been involved in training and education. And I have an online platform, which is the largest coaching platform in Australia and New Zealand. I live in Australia. And I spend my time working with estate agents. And occasionally I go to the UK twice a year. I didn't go this year, obviously, because of COVID. But Kenneth, my life is real estate, and I do practice as a real estate auctioneer every Saturday. So I do about 10 auctions every Saturday. So amongst the grassroots and involved at the coalface.
Brilliant. And, I've seen a lot of your work, and starting off as an agent myself, you would have been a big advocate for any agent starting off is to, get a good foothold on what they're trying to do and not just be that transactional agent. How have you seen technology, Tom, impact the industry over, the last, let's say, 10 years?
Look, it's been positive and it's been negative. Negative side of it is that, a bunch of real estate agents started to actually substitute, not complement what they were doing before. So they just went high tech, low touch. So the downside has been that there is a small group of real estate agents who took the human factor out of the deal, and subsequently they became invisible. But then I look at the positive sides and the real estate agents that use technology to complement what they were doing, not substitute what they were doing, and they were able to scale their business, because what technology allows you to do is to do more of the stuff that you're good at, and it helps you become more efficient at doing that stuff. And that's what I've seen. I've seen some real estate people that stayed high tech, high touch, actually built incredible rock star businesses. I mean, I have real estate people, Kenneth, that I work with that make $4-5 million Australian for themselves. These are salespeople. These are not people that have built their own real estate offices. They're just salespeople because they've learned the art to scale themselves using intelligent technology.
And what would you believe the most, exciting tech trends for, let's say, 2020 are that Europe and the UK and Ireland could learn from Australia? I was on with Lisa Novak a couple of weeks back. She touched on a couple.
Look, I think if you can double down and do it really well on social media, you already have half won the business before you walk into the door, because people have already built this journey of understanding on what you're all about. It's what I call a digital interview, right? Then you've got things like artificial intelligence that can help you work out who your high probability next clients are going to be. And of course, it's no different, Kenneth, to, just like Google Maps can work in a fraction of a second. What is the best way to actually get from A to B? Artificial intelligence can help you work out that this is a high probability client. So I think to myself, that's exciting that we're now allowing salespeople to take the thinking out of the equation for them and letting technology do that. I'm really, really excited at some of the propensity models that can work out who is going to be next doing a deal. But most importantly, I really like the fact that COVID-19 is now allowing the consumer and the real estate agent to be able to connect, which we've always been able to do it. But what COVID-19 has done is has fast forward the fact that you can interact with your clients virtually. It's interesting, Kenneth, because it hasn't been the chief technology officer or the chief information officer, the CIO or the CTO, that actually has brought about this change. It has been COVID-19. And to me, the exciting thing is that right now we have got, the community that have got an appetite to actually interact with you virtually. They're, to me, the most exciting things at the moment.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's a very valid point. I mean, have you seen, or do you believe, the industry can best transition over in Ireland and the UK? We're only seeing, let's say, the hybrid or self-employed models. I know in Ireland it's been 2 or 3 years. How would you see the transitional big brands react to the emerging models of the self-employed, under tech, such as, let's say, KW or EXP?
Well, number one is you've got to start off with facing the brutal truth, looking in the mirror and sort of saying to yourself, hey, what got me here won't get me there. You've got to start off with, going to the source of the problem. And a lot of times the source of the problem is that you've got this legacy thinking that says, this is the way we've done things, right? The way you've done things is like milk and cheese. They have expiry dates. At some point, they served a purpose. But after a particular date, they have a use-by date, and they no longer serve a purpose. So I would start off saying, number one is, it starts within to say, hey, if things don't change, like there's a beautiful saying, if you don't like change, you're going to hate extinction. So number one is acceptance of this. Number two, what you've got to start doing is become curious and understand that you might not like the change that's coming, but your consumers do. And you've got to make sure that you don't allow someone else to come in and make it easy for the customer to say yes. The third thing is, I would say, is that everything is hard before it's easy. So go in and accept that as you make this transition from being, say, let's call it are you saying, Kenneth, are you saying that there's a number of players that are coming into the marketplace in Ireland? Is it new ones?
Yeah, so that your self-employed models coming into the market, a couple more are coming in as well. The Compasses, the Century 21s, and I'm just let me go a little bit deeper. Do you think the existing traditional style bricks and mortar high street model should transition into these models? If they did, are there risks versus rewards in terms of ongoing revenue and job security?
Okay, well, there's a term that's coming around in Australia at the moment, which is saying from brick to click, and that's essentially sort of saying going from an office to virtual. So my advice is that don't panic, because I can pretty much tell you there are a lot of things in the traditional model that still serve a purpose. For instance, let's talk about let's talk about this for a moment. This is a good topic, and that is when you're a self-employed person, right, and you're using one of these models, most likely you'd work from home. Would that be fair enough to say, Kenneth?
Yeah, definitely at the moment.
Okay, so you work from home. So here's my view about working from home. For some people, they can do it. But there's another group of people that still wear pajamas at 11 o'clock in the morning here in Australia at the moment as we're coming to the tail end of COVID-19, right? I call it the pajama slope, right? They don't have the ability to manage free time. They're not disciplined enough, right? They need an office environment. Number two, culture. How easy is it to have culture if you're not in an environment where there is physical interaction with people, right? It can be achieved, but it is harder. Then you turn around and say there are, the topic of learning and mentoring and improving. Well, guess what, Kenneth? I'm 53 years of age, and I look at a lot of my own learning in my life. It's through called observational learning, right? I've been sitting in an office and I've been hearing a colleague of mine saying a particular script or dialogue and getting a certain result. You can't get that working from home on your own as a solo person. So to me, there are good and bad in the new models. And what the really successful ones, the businesses sitting there in Ireland should be thinking about right now is, hey, how do we actually take the good that we've got at the moment, which could be we've got a great brand, or it could be we've got certain processes, or we've got a good culture, right? And then what we do is we add to it and we say, hey, guess what? We don't need everyone to be in the office at 8:30 in the morning. Let them take their kids to school and let them do our sales meeting by Zoom, right? Because we know that you can still have an efficient sales meeting by Zoom, right? So why don't we look at ways that we can actually take from the new world and incorporate it? And then you go off and you have a look at, things such as, these commission splits where they get paid a lot more with these virtual models. Well, here's the deal. My view is that 50% of something is better than 95% of nothing, right? So don't take this automatic assumption that at the end of the day, just because you're getting a higher split, you're going to make more money. We still are in the business of volume. We are still in the business of transactions. So yes, if you're an existing operator in Ireland and you've got these new models coming along, you better accept that you might have to look at your remuneration scheme at the way you actually reward performers. But here in Australia, Kenneth, that already have been addressed because our traditional models actually pay high splits for the high performers, right? So that way you're actually remunerating high performance. And I say what you measure, you manage.
So it's the existing traditional styles nearly making themselves malleable into the self-employed and rewarding the agents more so, which brings me on to another point of allowing, your bigger or your mid-sized agencies, allowing the people to be at the forefront of the brand, because that is somewhat, there's only a handful in Ireland, and I'm always batting down to agents to say, listen, put yourself out there, because people buy off people, and if you can have your face at the front of the brand, regardless if it's your own, you're going to relate to them. How do you believe agents who are, let's say, stuck in that traditional style model or business that can put their personal brand out there? Because it is a thing here. It's nearly indoctrinated into the agents.
My view is that people list with people, right? People list with people. So what do the good people do, Kenneth? They've got what I call 3 stories. When they go off and see a client to win business, what they'll do is they'll have their personal story, which is them. Then they'll have the company story, which is we. Then the third story is a blended story, the combination of the two. And I say that you can get plenty of power by actually combining those stories, right? So don't feel like it's binary. It's the office or me. You can actually do really, really well to say, I this, we this. So, but I would say that if you're a real estate agent in Ireland right now and you've been hiding behind your brand, you're going to get devastated, because Warren Buffett says it best. When the tide goes out, that's when you'll work out who's been swimming naked and who's had their swimmers on. And I actually think that COVID-19 is the tide going out. So you better make sure that you haven't been hiding behind a brand, and that you need to sit there and get a reality check. What's your listing presentation like? What's your business development skills like? What's your integrity? What's your personal presentation? What's your negotiation ability? What's your product knowledge? Are you coachable? Do you have attention to detail? Do you have strong processes? Are you the person that can actually get the most money for someone thinking of selling a property? Have you got the ability to put deals together, or are you just an order taker? These are all the sorts of skills that you've got to really become really good at. But most importantly is, do you understand how to work out what tech is good and what's bullshit? And do you have the ability to actually use tech to help scale yourself and amplify what you do in the marketplace? And all I would say is, right here, right now, it's becoming very much about the individual sorting themselves out. I hope people that are listening to this podcast understand. No one's going to come to the rescue. You've got to save yourself. Your brand, your CEO, even your girlfriend or your wife won't save you. You've got to start off and have, a brutal truth and say, how real estate fit am I in Ireland at the moment? And I think everything starts with that.
No, it's a super point. Super point. And to just trying to digest the impact of technology, of embracing it, because it is very new. I'll be honest with you, it is new, and we've been trying to sell a valuation tool to estate agents to give more clarity and give more transparency about the market, because the property price register is 6 months out of date here, so there's not as much open data sets. What would you say to an agent, starting off, or what advice would you give to someone who wants to get into the property industry?
Become the Google of your marketplace.
Okay.
Study everything. Know everything about the market. Know everything about the transactions. Know everything about what has been just sold, what has just been listed. Know every strength and weakness in your marketplace. Become the Google of your marketplace, because if you can't beat people on reputation, you're going to beat them on product knowledge. That would be the first thing. The second thing I would say is build your personal brand. Understand there are no more blind dates in business. Everyone knows everything. Build a personal brand and become what I call an attraction business. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. Become the magnet in the marketplace. Number 3, become the easiest person in your market to deal with. Just get rid of the friction. Just become really easy to deal with. Number 4, I would say, learn the art of negotiation. Because if you can deliver more value and you become a value-added provider by showing more, doing more, giving more, you'll end up becoming a person of value. And at the end of the day, people pay you a commission, but it is value that they get back. become the person that adds more value than anyone else in the transaction. And along the way, I've got to say to you, become resilient and learn to make rejection your best friend. Because in real estate, you're going to go from the heights of exhilaration to the depths of depression in 24 hours. And I'm telling you, you've got to become psychologically tough. You've got to become mentally tough, and you've got to accept you're going to get punched in the face. But the price to pay for greatness in real estate is your ability to handle problems and then to wake up the next day and go back to the marketplace and put in another 10 hours of solid work. And the final thing I'll say, Kenneth, is learn to play the long game. When you play the short game, you've got commission breath. And commission breath is not going to give you a sustainable long-term career in real estate.
Brilliant, Tom. That's some great tips and tricks, I'm going to say, for agents kicking off. And there's a lot of agents coming out and getting their license in the coming months. So listen, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Thanks a million. I know there's a big time difference between the pair of us. And let's keep in touch. Guys, I'll put Tom's details below. I'll put his website. He's got some serious archives of videos, interviews with the top brass in the business, as I'm calling it. Tom, thank you very much, and let's keep in touch. Please subscribe below for anyone new to the channel. We've got some great guests lined up for season 2, and I look forward to seeing you again.